A lot of people are out here trying to squeeze out 10% in the market, while every single day they are willingly paying 22% to the bank. So, who is really winning here? If you ask me, the order you invest in is what saves you from wasting a few years for nothing. I made a painful mistake myself. I carried credit card debt, bought a fund with high management fees, and then left money in a regular brokerage account, so tax drag slowly chewed up my returns. What shocked me was that it looked like I was making money, but after fees and taxes, I was basically going nowhere. The lesson: prioritize what you keep after taxes and after risk, not what looks good on paper. And then there was the time Liam got sick. I had to sell my portfolio right when the market was down because I did not have an emergency fund. Oh man, that feeling is awful. What step are you on right now? One-line checklist: emergency fund, wipe out high-interest debt, grab the match, IRA, HSA, max out your 401k, then taxable. Drop a comment with your step. According to a survey from Empower, about 1 in 3 Americans do not have an emergency fund, and the median amount set aside for emergencies is only $500. $500? The source is pretty solid, because it is research published by a major financial company, but it is still survey data, so there is always some sampling error. What is wild to me is that people hear that number and still ask me whether they should buy individual stocks or crypto. Emily just has to do one grocery run for the whole family, add gas, and toss in one random little bill for Liam, and that $500 disappears fast. Do you have an emergency fund yet? Or are you letting everything depend on a credit card? The most important thing today is not picking a ticker symbol that sounds cool. In the middle of this video, I am going to share one exception that sounds backwards. There are times you should still invest, even if you still have debt. But it is only true in one specific case, and the number behind it will make you stop and think. As far as I know, getting the order wrong is the fastest way to waste a few years without even realizing it. Every month, you carry high-interest credit card debt. The balance grows like a countdown clock, and then you have to earn an even higher return just to break even after taxes. That is honestly infuriating. And then there is the employer match. If your company is willing to put in extra money and you do not take it, that is free money you are leaving on the table. And if you start pouring money into a taxable account before you use tax-advantaged accounts, you are choosing to pay taxes sooner than you have to. Do you want to move fast, or do you want to take the long way around? Step 1 is an emergency fund, and I know it is not exciting, but it is the thing that keeps you from having to sell your portfolio at the worst possible time. Psychologically, having cash set aside keeps you calmer and less likely to make reckless decisions when something hits your family. And mathematically, it lowers the odds that you will be forced to pull money out during a market downturn, and it lowers the chance you will have to patch the gap with high-interest debt. What I did for my family was break the goal into smaller targets. First, get $1,000 saved as fast as possible. Then, build it up to 1 month of living expenses. Only after that do you aim for 3 months. The way I understand it, every time you hit a milestone, your brain feels safer, and it becomes easier to stay disciplined. Vanguard has research showing that people with at least $2,000 set aside for emergencies have a financial well-being score that is 21% higher than people who have none. Where are you on the ladder right now? Step 2 is wiping out high-interest debt. A lot of people skip this step and then wonder why they keep investing, but never seem to get ahead. Psychologically, high-interest debt makes you feel like you are constantly being chased. You panic more easily, and you are more likely to start making random trades trying to make it back. I honestly find it strange that some people treat that as normal. Mathematically, paying off a debt with a 20% interest rate means you are effectively earning a guaranteed 20% return after taxes with zero volatility. As far as I know, it is rare to find any reasonable investment with an expected return that high that is also that certain. For example, if you have $5,000 of credit card debt at 22%, every extra month you stretch it out, you are basically paying money for the privilege of staying in debt. The cleanest approach is the debt avalanche method. List every debt, pay the minimum on all of them, then throw every extra dollar at the one with the highest interest rate until it is gone. A common mistake to avoid is paying the minimum while also trying to invest on the side because you are afraid of missing out. Oh man, the best opportunity in that moment is cutting that high interest out of your life. Do you know which one of your debts has the highest interest rate right now? Now we get to the twist, the one exception that makes me say something different. If your company offers an employer match, you should contribute enough to get the full match, even if you still have high interest debt. Sounds backwards, right? The reason is the math. A match often works like an instant return of 50 to 100%, depending on the policy. For example, if you make $50,000 a year and your company matches 50%, up to the point where you contribute 6%, you put in $3,000 per year, and the company adds $1,500. What surprises me is how many people skip that and then go hunting for some other deal. But make sure you check the vesting schedule, because some people do not look closely, quit too soon, and lose the match. Do you get a match? And are you getting all of it? After you are getting the full match and you are cleaning up high interest debt, the next step in the tax-optimized zone is an IRA. Psychologically, an IRA gives you more choice because you are not stuck with your company's limited fund menu. And mathematically, management fees are the quiet little leak that eats away at compounding. The way I understand it, a 1% fee difference each year can cost you a huge amount after a few decades because it keeps subtracting from your returns over and over again. For example, if the fund inside your 401k charges 1% and you switch to an index fund in an IRA that charges 0.05%, that difference sounds tiny each year, but over the long run, it is a different story. A common mistake is staring at this year's performance and ignoring the fees. Do you know how much the fund you are buying is charging you? This is the kind of deeper, inside baseball topic people in the industry talk about, and what is surprising is how rarely it gets explained on YouTube. As far as I know, it is not just asset allocation that matters. Asset location also determines how much you actually keep after taxes. Put simply, you can hold the exact same portfolio, but if you place the pieces in the right accounts, you get hit with less tax. Tax drag is the tax friction inside a taxable account. Every year you receive dividends, bond interest, or you sell for a gain. You may owe taxes, so that money does not get to stay invested and let compounding run at full speed. And then there are management fees. They are not loud, but they come straight out of your returns, year after year. A practical way to think about it is to place tax-heavy assets, like bonds or high-yield funds, inside tax-advantaged accounts. Meanwhile, long-term index funds can be more reasonable in a taxable account if you want flexibility. A common mistake is rebalancing too often in a taxable account and accidentally triggering capital gains taxes. What kinds of assets are you holding in your taxable account right now? Step 5 is the HSA. And oh man, this is the one a lot of people forget, even though it can be insanely powerful if you qualify. Psychologically, having a dedicated bucket for healthcare makes me worry less about Emily and Liam whenever I think about getting older. And mathematically, An HSA has 3 tax advantages. Your contributions can be tax deductible, the growth is not taxed, and withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are also not taxed. Based on the 2025 contribution limits that Fidelity summarized from Internal Revenue Service rules, the max is $4,300 for an individual and $8,550 for a family. That is pretty reliable because it is tied to official limits, but you should still double-check based on your specific health plan. One insider move people use is paying current medical expenses out of pocket if you can handle it, saving the receipts, and letting the HSA stay invested so you can reimburse yourself anytime later. Are you on an HSA eligible plan right now? Step 6 is going back to your 401k and trying to max it out if you can. Psychologically, the automatic paycheck deduction means you do not have to wrestle with yourself every month about whether you should invest or not. And mathematically, money inside a 401k is either tax-deferred or tax-free, depending on the type. So compounding can run faster because it is not being slowed down by yearly taxes. The 401k contribution limit for 2026 is $24,500, according to the Internal Revenue Service. And if you are 50 or older, there is also a catch-up contribution. So make sure you check it, because the rules can change year to year. After you finish this step, that is when you move on to a taxable account. A taxable account is not bad. It is just a tax battlefield. You receive dividends, you may owe tax. You sell for a profit, you may owe tax. That is where tax drag shows up. The way I understand it, a taxable account makes sense when you need flexibility, like saving up for a house, retiring early before the typical retirement withdrawal age, or just wanting money that is easier to access. But a common mistake is jumping into taxable too early just because it feels more free, while ignoring the tax advantages that come first. What surprises me is how many people ask me which ticker they should buy, but they do not even know they are missing the match, paying high-interest debt, or getting hit with expensive fund fees. If you want to move faster, follow the right order. Here is the one-line checklist. Emergency fund, wipe out high-interest debt, get the match, IRA, HSA, max out your 401k, then taxable. What step are you on, and which step is you getting stuck on the most right now?